why are you depressed? And they go, well, do you have proof? And they go in their mind and they have all these reasons and proof that they're depressed, which I call that an unhappy journal. It's not an energy problem. It's a memory problem. The reason why you have a problem is because you've experienced experiences that aren't so good. You're not in the memory. You're watching it as if you were a fly on the wall. And I said, I just wonder, as you look at this memory in your mind, is it in color or what is it? He says, no, it's in black and white.
Welcome to PnP, the Partners in Positivity podcast, where
Aisling Burnett
and myself, Sarah Harty, warriors of EBP, SBP, DHBs, that's emotionally bulletproof, spiritually bulletproof, divine human beings, aim to wake up and shake up the nation through positivity, humor, and shared wisdom.
Before we get stuck into another awesome episode, we just want to let you know that we have a donation page if you wish to support the podcast and help us to continue providing more amazing episodes for you. If you want to Google Partners in Positivity, you'll find our Buzzsprout site, and on there you can find a support button. You can click on that and support to your heart's content, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly subscription. We really appreciate all the donations that we get. Thanks so much. Enjoy the episode. Today, on the Irish and international stage of our PnP podcast, we have another unique and supreme divine human being. One of our main purposes here at PnP is to be able to help people flip from a negative state of mind to a positive state of mind and become more emotionally intelligent. And this week's guest can certainly help with that. I have personally attended his seminars and I have my own transformational story after having suffered with anxiety and depression for 8 years previous to going to see him. Partners in Positivity, please help us welcome Mr. Robert G. Smith. Robert is a well-respected leader in the field of personal development and a sought-after speaker. He is one of the largest North American specialists in stress, spirituality, and healing. He developed his own unique method called Eutaptics Faster EFT and has been traveling the world since 2002 teaching people at his seminars. He has helped over 100,000 people through his courses, and even the people that haven't made it as far as one of his courses have shared great testimonials of how they have healed their issues just by watching and tapping along to his YouTube videos. In 2014, he featured in the documentary Emotion alongside other specialists in the field like Mr. Joe Dispenza and Neil Donald Walsh. We are so looking forward to sharing his best knowledge with you guys. Partners in Positivity, say hello to Robert G. Smith all the way from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, the great state of Oklahoma, where you're okay.
You're okay in Oklahoma. Love it. So Robert, how has your morning been? I see you have a huge piece of land and you have cows and everything. How's all that going for you?
It's all going good. After the craziness of last year, I thought, you know what? I think I want to be self-sufficient, have my own place. So I bought 160 acres, sold my 4,800 square foot home and moved out there, bought us some nice longhorn cattle, and we'll be doing some more. We're building us a nice lake out there, probably around 12 acres. We have some very large, deep ravines, which we're building a dam for. So it's going to be kind of exciting.
Whoa, that is absolutely amazing. From what I see from the videos on Facebook, it looks absolutely amazing. It looks like you're having a lot of fun. And I remember back in 2015, you had me and a bunch of others over to your old house in Oklahoma. You're always very welcoming and you're so kind. We had great times traveling the world and learning about our emotional health. So thanks for that, and thanks for all the help you've given to me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Also, I don't know how many people would have at the house when you came out there. I think I've had up to 16 people stay with me at one time.
Yeah, it was about 15 or 16.
I hide back in my room and let the rest of the house be taken over by aliens.
That is so good. I hope you're going to do the same with your new house. People could actually camp on the land and have a big retreat.
Robert, I couldn't believe it when I heard of Eutaptics Faster EFT from Aisling for the first time. I didn't know Aisling when she was going through those years, that period of anxiety and depression in her life. I only met her in the last couple of years, actually, in the lightness and brightness that she is today. So it's really hard for me to relate to someone having 8 years of suffering as a human being. But the transformation is just beautiful. My mother also came across tapping in the last few years. I'm really curious to know, how did you create or come up with Eutaptics Faster EFT?
Yeah, well, Eutaptics Faster EFT is an evolution of many things, starting out with mental mechanics, which is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, basically what it is you do inside your head to create what you said you don't want. And of course, starting out with NLP, learning how the brain works, mental mechanics, what's going on inside the mind. Then I found EFT, emotional freedoms technique, which it has its own belief system, which I don't agree with. But it has the process which it introduces, which is very effective, which is a psychosensory process, such as tapping on certain points. Learning how the mind actually creates, because the difference between EFT and faster EFT is energy, blocked energy, energy problems. In my world, it's not an energy problem, it's a memory problem. The reason why you have a problem is because you've experienced experiences that aren't so good. And therefore, your brain will use those experiences and try to keep you safe and in alignment with those programs, those memories, those experiences. And so, granted, it'd be nice if you could put some Reiki and a rock on your forehead and crystals on you to suck out that negative energy, but it just really doesn't work that well because it's memory problems, neurological, written on the cells of your cortices. And so what we do is using the natural process of mind, how the brain naturally updates itself, and then we update the memories so well that it's almost like it's not me anymore. And that's what happened to Aisling. Here for years, she's been miserable and she looked like the cat had dug her up and brought her to my seminar. She did look like a very happy girl. And she's been pulled up front. We did some tapping on her, some changes in the memories, and then she came to a lot of seminars and she kept working on herself, which basically gives her the power to make self changes. And that's really what we're after is educating people and letting them know that, first of all, you're not broken, you're not screwed up, there's nothing wrong with you, but your brain is using memories to create what you said you don't want. And all problems in our world, we know, is a successful outcome built from these bad memories. So if you can change the bad memories, you'll change your life. And, the cliche we've heard, change your mind, change your life. Well, I know how to do that, and I can do it very fast.
Really, truly, I'm finding this so fascinating because I know a child under the age of 5, and I remember one time when she was a little bit constipated and she had a pain in her bum, and she felt the pain for the first time when she was in a toilet in her home, and her mother helped her to heal. And when she was fully healed, she refused to go back into the bathroom because of the memory of her having a painful moment in the toilet. And eventually she did go back in with a reward or a packet of sweets or something like that, thank God. But yeah, that's just the way memory works is amazing, how we protect ourselves. I want to know, where did your desire for this come from?
Well, I think, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. My mother's around 14 years old. She ran away from home and she got pregnant, came back to Oklahoma and gave birth to me. Now she's 15 years old. Her mother is very religious, very Christian. And of course, that's not a very fashionable thing for a 15-year-old daughter to have a child. 6 months later, she ends up marrying my stepdad. Now, of course, my stepdad, he's a good guy. He had a lot of emotional issues and everyone brings their own belief systems, hurt, pains, or successes into the relationship, and had a lot of negative impact on my life. But around, you know, my grandmother would pick us up, take us to church, which is definitely a self-help program or somewhat. And then when I was 14 and 15 years old, I went to Louisiana, which is my aunt and uncle live there. And we went there, my brother and I, us two, the oldest, to work. And when I was there, I discovered something I liked, and that is peacefulness. You weren't afraid to get beat. You weren't afraid of all that stuff. And I like it, you know. And so the last year she went back home. I said, Mom, I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go back to Louisiana because life is good. And she said, you can't. I'll let you go live with your grandmother. Now, my grandmother was 34 years old when I was born. She always wanted me. Mom wouldn't let her have me. So moving in my grandmother was a big change in my life in a lot of positive ways, you know, although I did bring my emotional hurts and worries and fears to my grandmother's. But, you know, she would, you know, she kind of tricked me in going to church. She said, I'll let you drive the car. And I said, okay, when do we start? She said, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday night, all the days that the church was open. And of course, you know, you listen to the sermons and all this stuff, and you want, and I mean, I'm having nightmares, you know, in my head, and I want to kind of soothe the scary stuff. And so I kept trying. And then one time I think I saw an ad or something for us, like a psychology encyclopedia set. And I said, Grandma, I want that. So she ordered it, and I started reading it, and I started reading other things about the mind. And one time, we're talking about the mind, and in this psychology book, there was one of the books about, you know, sexuality. And of course, I'm 15 years old, you know, girls are on the radar at that time, you know, and I discovered erogenous zones, you know, those little points of pleasures, you know. And so one day I'm in the used bookstore and I saw erogenous right on the cover, right on the edge of the book. And I thought, I'm gonna grab that book, went up, paid for it, put it in a brown paper bag, and I took it home to read it. And it had nothing to do with those points I was interested in. The book was actually called Your Erroneous Zones, which is by Wayne Dyer. But I read the book, and that point shifted my point of view about who I am and why I have problems. And it was the beginning stages. And so then I wanted to learn more about the mind. And then, started buying hypnosis books and reading about that and doing this. And that's the beginning days, you know. It's how I started as an early 15-year-old kid, trying to figure out how to soothe those demons within, so to speak, you know. And over years, you know, of course, going to church, biblical studies, my major in college, and getting married at 22. And, you know, before we were married, you know, she said she was sexually abused as a child by her father. And of course, you know, at 22, you don't know how to deal with that, you know. And then after married, you know, on our second child, and then about 18 years into the marriage, when my daughter reached the same age that my wife was abused, stuff started acting up in her life. That's when we started seeking therapy, you know, and I started reading every book I could find about sexual trauma, physical traumas. And then I found a book called Mind Works, which is an NLP about how the mind actually works. So then I started studying. I want to study this, you know, because it makes sense. I'm a very practical person. It has to work, you know, and it can't be out there and weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? It has to be normal. It has to be, you don't have to have special stories for it to be true. It just has to be factual. So I started doing this, and then I found the EFT course. The first person I tapped on was a friend of the neighborhood. She's around 18 years old. I knew she had a fear of heights, and I called her up and said, hey, Amanda, why don't you come on over and let me see if I can get rid of your fear of heights? And she goes, you're not going to make me climb a ladder, are you? I said, nope, we're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. So she comes over. While she's in the house, my oldest son's Adam. I said, hey, Adam, go get the ladder. She screams, no. I said, listen, Amanda, you're not going to do anything you don't want to do. And so I'm outside with the ladder against the house, using the process. Next thing you know, she's up the top of that ladder, looking down at me, smiling, goes, I can't believe I'm up here. And then when she came down, she said, I wasn't even afraid going down. She said, but the real test is if I can go to a local amusement park and ride the Ferris wheel. Well, months later, she came over. She said, I did it. I was riding the Ferris wheel with my boyfriend and his mother, and it was nothing. So that was the beginnings. That was the very first person I worked on, and I worked on anything that would stand still long enough.
Wow.
So I worked on my family, my wife, my kids, and strangers.
Thanks so much for sharing your personal story with us, Robert, and for connecting the dots looking back. It's amazing what you've been through, and I have to congratulate you for maintaining that level of dedication, that commitment to alleviating suffering in your own family, but also for people across the world. Wow, wow. Now that we've talked about your own story and Ashleen's story, could you explain to our audience, who I'm sure many people don't know what tapping is, the concept of tapping, but also the replacement of memory? That would be fantastic.
All right. Well, the brain has a natural process that occurs all by itself without us being aware of it, which means the brain always updates its own memories. Sometimes it'll make a memory worse. Sometimes it'll make a memory better. And it's kind of like this. It's kind of like you meet someone, or it's like you're learning something. You know, when you learn something and you got that new learning, your brain has been expanded and the adjustments have been made. It reminds me when I went to a birthday party, and I was Stephanie's 60th birthday party, and meeting this guy. He's a big, tall German guy, you know, and he introduced who he is, and I tell you who I am, and he says, I'm a whatever he is, I don't remember now. And I said, I'm a neuroplastician and a behavioral engineer. I help people change memories. And he said, you can't change memories. I said, I can, you can't. So later on, we're sitting around the dinner table, and he began to tell a story of an event that occurred to him when he was 15 years old, which basically he's in Germany, and he witnessed a guy riding a motorcycle and his head was decapitated. And so he goes on, and I go, well, as he's telling it, you know, he's not very emotionally charged with it. And I said, hey, I just kind of wonder, you know, as you remember and tell this story in your mind, how do you see it internally? Now, this is internal mental mechanics. He says, well, I'm watching it. I'm seeing me, and I'm seeing it happen in front of me. And I said, oh, so you're like a fly on the wall watching it happen to you. He goes, yeah. I said, are you looking at me now? He goes, yes. I said, do you see me? Yes. Do you see you seeing me? He said, no. I said, because your memory has already started making adjustment. You're not in the memory. You're watching it as if you were a fly on the wall. And I said, I just wonder, as you look at this memory in your mind, is it in color or what is it? He says, no, it's in black and white. I said, was it at night? He goes, no, it's in full daylight. I said, the memory has already started to release colors, which means it makes it not as real. He said, your memory started changing. And he goes, I'll get back with you. Now, the interesting thing is we have a natural survival system within us. Memories do change. And if science does this, it says every time you visit a memory, and when you're done visiting the memory, the brain actually rewrites the memory on the cortices. So so what I discovered is if you visit a memory, and before you visit the memory, what you feel, how you think, and the intention of visiting memory will make an adjustment within the memory. And when you're done, the brain rewrites it as if it's now the original. So memories are always changing and adjusting with our understandings. So the fact is, anytime you visit a memory, a good memory and or a bad memory, something happens, intention. And then when you recall it, it feels kinesthetically, physically real. Even though you're not 7 years old anymore, it still feels real. Now, this is what you call thought, then feeling occurs. The feeling is a sensation built and generated by the brain in what it captured a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So when you think of something, you actually go in what I would call a trance, a mini trance or a big one, that you feel like it's really happening again. So what we do with this is that the kinesthetic feeling or the stress reaction is a sensory system. So psychosensory process means you're going to interrupt that sensation with a new sensation, which flattens out the neurons in the mind, which actually changes the memory. So we use a tapping process. You don't have to use tapping. There's lots of ways, which is tapping is really a relaxation process. It just relaxes you. That's all it does. But it also introduces that relaxed feeling into the memory, which therefore, when it's done, the brain rewrites it. That's why it changes.
Wow, thanks for explaining that, Robert. I feel like I'm actually being taught by you all over again, and you explained it in a way that I've never actually heard you explain it before. Thanks so much. I feel like that should be really clear for people. So we're going to take a new path here, Robert. We've had questions submitted from our audience because they heard you were coming on. So we have a list of questions here. Are you ready to answer them?
Mm-hmm.
These questions are from our dear friend Elena Popova in Ukraine. Question number 1. Whenever we are offered any new method or treatment for all kinds of disorders, mental and physical, we always feel a bit resistant. This is normal for a lot of people. What can you advise us to do to overcome this feeling of resistance with the method you offer?
Well, you have to understand that, again, the brain is trying to keep you safe. And when you learn a process that may help you go inside yourself and to look at memories, and sometimes we have memories that are very scary. And that's why we have a resistance of doing it, is because we're afraid. And 2, we don't know how to do it, and we don't know the outcome, and we don't know what to do. So one of the things that I do is I educate people, show how simple it is to change memories. And we do it naturally anyway. So we're going to do it in a way that's really big. So a lot of people will have resistance. And if they have a resistance, that's normal, because it's almost like Ashlyn, if you're going to go learn how to skydive or something, of course you're going to be scared. You've never done it before. And you may do things inside your head, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes, because you become familiar. It's like driving also. So again, once you conquer it and you build what you call an emotional confidence, it's easy to do it. But again, we're not used to changing things within ourselves. You know, we bit the bullet and believed what they said. You have a disorder, but you don't have a disorder, and you're not broken, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your brain is trying to keep you safe. And what we want to do is use a wise system that gives you power and control. So the thing that I say, that if you really want, to move forward into personal changes, push through the scared parts and have the goal in mind. What do you want to do? I want to fly. I want to sing. I want to travel. I want something. Let that be your goal, and move towards that, and do everything that'll help you get there. And that's the key. Pick out your goal and push through, tap out, change, whatever it takes to get you where you want to go.
Question number 2. In your opinion, Robert, the cause of all problems is our memory, and you offer us to change our memory. Is there any scientific research that proves that we can change our memory? Is it actually possible?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of research from Julia Shaw about false memories. Daniela Sheeler, she shows the scientific research, how they created a fear of blue squares with clients, or they would come in, they give them electric shock treatment. So therefore they create a belief and a real fact that blue squares are bad. And then later on, they go back and they update the memories to where blue squares aren't bad. So the memory that blue squares are bad are now changed that blue squares are good. Now they do, they test it. They can see the stress levels when it comes to blue squares, and then they do their work, and then they go back and they check it again. Memory reconsolidation has a lot of science behind it. You think about it, there was a doctor's father who had a stroke, and part of his brain was destroyed. And his doctor said, you'll never be able to walk again. You're going to be handicapped. But he didn't want that for his dad. So what he did is he helped dad learn to crawl first. And over time, after a while, his brain created new network in the other part of the brain to where he can walk again, and he can drive again, and he can do other things again. But yet memory in the brain is very resilient. That means it's a learning machine. It builds new things. Now, here's a cool thing. If you've never driven a car before you drive a car, you don't have any network on how to do that. You see people do it, but you never done it. And so Memories do change. It changes over time, and it changes with you. You'll meet someone that you liked at first, and then you'll meet someone else and they talk bad about this person. And then next time you know, your memory changed about that person because of new information. It always changes and it naturally changes. So if it does it naturally, why can't we do it intentionally with skills and stuff? And that's what we're doing. We're teaching how that your brain is very plastic. That means it's very adjustable. And over the years, it has adjusted. Your life is a perfect example of that. And my life is a perfect example of that. The problem is if you don't change the bad memories, you can make the bad memories even worse if you do it just right. And people do that. And they'll take a good memory and turn it into bad and a bad memory worse. And so this is something science has proven. There's a lot of research out there. All you do is type in neuroplasticity and you'll find it.
Question number 3. What are your arguments that can convince me to believe that your method really works and helps people? Because there are so many different techniques that can help us to rewire the brain, like positive thinking, yoga practice, meditation, and other techniques. Is your method better or more productive?
The big difference in what I do, and I mean, really, all you have to do is try it. Really, that's all I say. Try it. You don't have to believe in it. The beautiful part about my system, it takes zero belief. No belief needed. You be a skeptical. Just go ahead and try it. And I have simple process, follow along, and you'll get a result. The most important thing is understanding what it is that you're doing inside, aim at it, and then try it again. I'm here for anyone who's ready. I have, and by the way, I have hundreds, maybe even thousands of real people, real testimonials from all walks of life, from doctors to nurses, from psychologists, and to normal moms and dads.
If I decide to take part in the program and learn the technique, shall I stop taking antidepressants?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, I'm not a doctor, and to be a smart person, never stop taking anything unless your doctor's okay. But I will tell you this, I've worked with many people. What is depression, first of all? Depression means something inside me is not feeling good. My life sucks. I've had sucky experiences. I had painful experiences. I have a bleak look in the future. If you go change the cause of depression, which is memory and experiences, and you make adjustments there's nothing. By the way, you don't have a depression deficiency. You don't have a Prozac deficiency. The difference with drugs, and I've had many people who come to me who's taken one drug. And the weird thing about drugs, you can take it and it may work for a little bit until your thinking and worrying overrides the drug. Next thing you know, you'll need another drug. And by the time you're taking 4 drugs, you can't get off the couch and you don't remember what day it is. You're not depressed, but you're not thinking either. So depression is a skill developed by the brain to keep you safe in alignment with the traumas in which you've been exposed to. So if you change the trauma, you change the memories, you change the hurts, the beatings, the rapes, the abuses, whatever it is that you are holding within, when you change that, there's no need to treat depression because depression isn't a part of the program.
And I've one from a friend of ours. He's a life coach and creator of a YouTube channel called The Happiness Project. His name is Eugene Yeskov, and he wants to know, how do you inspire someone to change if they don't want to change?
If they don't want to change, and that's okay, they're going to change anyway. But I help people, like some people come in and they say, I have this problem. I said, would you like to change it? And they said, no. I said, well, would you like to improve your skill of this problem? Because you're not really that good at depression. And I will coach them on how to be even more depressed. If they really like their depression, I can help them improve it. And honestly, I know how it works. I've worked with so many people who were depressed and create depression, and they do certain things within themselves to hold it. But they usually don't take me up on improving their quality skills of being even more depressed. And if people don't want to change, that's okay. I'm not here to save people who don't want to be saved. I'm here to help people who are ready, who's sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Another question here, Robert, from Dorian Craig Javis Richardson. I'm sure you remember She said, Robert, why I don't sleep?
Well, she does sleep now, but at the time when she said, "Why am I not sleeping?" I said, "Because you're busy thinking, you're busy worrying." And of course, at that time in her life, there was a lot of bad things happening. I think, there's big stuff happening in her life. And of course, if you have big stuff in your life happening, you're not sleeping, you're worrying. So no one has insomnia. People do insomnia, which means they have to think, feel, and do something inside themselves so they won't sleep. They had to plan not sleeping the whole day. And when I say plan not sleeping, they worry about not sleeping. By the way, worries are wishes. By the way, when you worry about something, you're making up scary stuff in your head just for entertainment's sake, and it makes things worse. So she's not sleeping, or she wasn't then, because she wasn't dealing with the emotional traumas occurring in her life at the time. And she was worrying, therefore not sleeping. That's why.
That is brilliant perspective on insomnia. I know myself when I had little or no sleep on some occasions was definitely nights when I was worrying or overthinking about future events or what was going to happen the next day, maybe. But yeah, just I want to go back to what you said before about having something to aim at or setting an intention before you tap. I watched some of your YouTube videos and I love the one where you talk about people can tap to escape, but they can also tap to make a change in their life. What advice would you have to make sure people focus on something or have a target?
Well, let me just, there's a couple of things that you're saying here. One, our number one, the whole world's number one coping mechanism in the world is to divert attention from our pain, right? So you feel bad, you eat a cake, right? You feel bad, you drink whiskey or smoke a cigarette or clean the house or go shopping or gamble. All right. So this is a normal coping process. So when we're working on ourselves, and I said sometimes you could use the tapping as an emotional escape, not as a changing system. So that means the brain naturally does this all the time. When you feel bad, inside your brain, you have feel bad memories and references. So when you go inside your mind and you notice that you feel bad, you may notice the tightness in your chest, or you may look at the image in your mind and you're aiming at that. So you notice it, it bothers you. And then we will, what we call defract, come away from that, tap, think happy stuff, smile big, feel good, then go back to the memory. And as you go back, this new feeling you have produced is going to be introduced into the memory. Therefore, it's going to start changing that memory. That's the natural way that the brain updates itself. But we're going to do it in a strategic way, because when we feel bad, we go eat cake. And we're eating cake and we're not thinking about feeling bad. We're stuffing our face with that chocolate, right? But after you feel good and you go back and visit the memory again, you're going to take this feel good and actually change it, make an adjustment, a fine-tuned adjustment in the memory. And since our brain has many cortices, I mean, different cortex, we've got a visual cortex, a kinesthetic cortex, sounds, and all this stuff. Each of these must be aimed at to get a complete mental shift and perception shift by merely changing all parts of that memory. And that's what we're doing. So aiming is noticing what it is within me. How do I know it bothers me? Aim at it. You can rate it 0 to 10 if you want, and then do something that makes you feel good, and then go back and check it again and see if it's lessened. And you keep doing it until you turn it into a positive memory.
I see. So it's about identifying feelings or memories. However, some people may ignore them or don't want to look back into it fully because it's scary or they have a fear, which actually sounds which sounds pretty natural, that we do tend to create distractions then. Do you have any examples of people who had depression, anxiety, had major challenges, but it took them a very long time to recall the memories for you to be able to work on them?
It depends. The brain has several ways of processing experiences. Now, of course, I work with the toughest and the worst. Severe physical traumas, rapes, beatings, addictions, phobias, and then the biggest possible way. And so, there are the brain, you'll have an experience as a child. One of three things will happen. One, you're going to fight back. Two, you're going to run. Or three, you're going to freeze. That's numb and dumb. That means that memory will go into the unconsciousness. And when it's all over with, consciously, you don't remember what happened. But years later, a sound or a look, all of a sudden a new memory will appear, which is not new. It's just been tucked away to protect you. So a lot of people don't know how to find why they have a problem. We have a process called the art of change, which is illicit unconscious strategy. When we get the memory references, we change the memories and the problem disappears. So that's what we do. So we have a very clear way to go in and find it. Now, by the way, this is a university style training. This is not child's play. This is not a 2-hour session or a 2-hour training. The first level 1 is 7 days of teaching you how to change you, you can change yourself. But if you don't know how to change something and no one's ever taught you how to change it, you can't change it. It's like impossible, but it gets simple when you come to my course because I show you the details, what you do, how you do it, and how to make adjustments and how to find what it is you need to find. So again, it's super simple, super thorough and complete.
Very good. And Robert, I just want to ask, I know we all obviously work on ourselves, but in your opinion, why is it important for a person to take control of their own healing?
Well, we take control. We inadvertently control or not control anyway. So either one of two things. If you had trauma in your life, you'll improve the trauma by the time you're dead. You're going to get worse, and more worse. This is something that's going to happen. Or if you say, I want to heal, again, you're not really sick. You're just successfully producing something that you don't like. So I think everybody should learn what I would call emotional intelligence, or I call my system directed mindfulness. That means directly go in the mind, make adjustments there, and then your life changes. So everyone has an option to go with the flow and die like the rest of them, or do something completely different. And that difference will make a difference in your life. It'll change how you perceive yourself. Now, you got Ashlyn here. When she started, when she came to seminar, she did not have a bright future. It was very bleak until she started letting go of whatever it was that held her down. Now, her attitude is, you could see a total difference, like night and day. And I'm very proud of you. You did a good job, and I'm very proud of your hard work, because it had a ripple effect, not only on yourself, but other people you meet, because you have discovered the art of letting go and to learn to like yourself. If you look at a concept that Jesus said, physicians, heal yourself. He's not talking about doctors. He's talking about you. Learn to heal yourself. Learn to conquer yourself. Learn to be emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is truly spiritual intelligence.
And Robert, for people who have come to your seminars, like Ashleen, who have gone through the program and now they see a brighter future, they've overcome the major traumas in their life, moving on from there and considering that from day to day we're still create memory and things happen, is there a way to prevent yourself from being hurt or being triggered? Or is it just that you have more of an effective tool to manage and cope moving on?
Well, I definitely have a tool. One of the things is I teach you how to be in control of yourself emotionally. Because see, we all have emotional coping skills. And the number one coping skill is suffer through it, ignore it, or replay it over and over again to make your life worse. What I'm doing is I'm teaching right now, if you feel bad, you know how to change it right now. That means you have a day-to-day skill that will improve the quality of your life. Because here's a fact that you can't escape. Life is always changing without your permission. If you change with the changes and not take any pain with you, your life will be bright and sunny. If you don't change your negative responses, whatever happens, those negative responses will build on top of themselves and create a bigger problem for you in the future. So I say, be directful within your mind, make the changes you want, and keep no bad memories within yourself. And I think I would say our minds is like a spiritual temple, and you're the janitor. Keep your mind clean and your life will be clean. If you let it get dirty and you rehearse and replay, worry, make up scary stuff inside you, you have a bright future of miserableness. I just say, don't do it anymore. Clean up.
Brilliant. I actually read something similar yesterday about the fact that you don't litter or pollute your local environment. So why would you contaminate or pollute your mind, since it's your biggest asset? That's fantastic. I really gained so much from this conversation. Robert, I know you've traveled the world. I seen you were even as far as Athens doing an addiction seminar. In Ireland, we would have a lot of alcoholism, drug addiction problems, suicide. And I'm wondering, have you ever done seminars in Ireland, and what level of transformation can you achieve with someone, let's say, that has an addiction problem?
Yeah, addiction is probably one of my areas of expertise for sure. I've been volunteering for years, over 10 years at different drug rehabs, understanding what is an addiction, why does it work, and what drives it. The number one driving force behind addiction is I feel bad. I don't know how to deal with what's in my head, and I'm looking for a way out. And of course, Ireland is definitely, alcohol or suicide or eating, or shopping or gambling. And so the first thing is that we got to clean up what drives your addiction, which is hurt, pain, fear, trauma, etc. And if you change that, there's no escape. There's no reason to escape. It's like the young man who came to see me when I was in Ireland. And in his glove box, he had all the pills to take, ready to kill himself. Although he's a father, he has children, he has a wife, he has a job, but in his mind, he thought they will be better off without me. Now, of course, if we start cleaning up the abuses that he went through as a child, through school, the abuses and the things he witnessed growing up in his family, as we change those, and we change those really directly, there's no escape. There's nothing to run from because there's nothing to escape from. So again, it's very common. Unfortunately, Ireland does have a high suicide rate, and that's because they're looking for a way out of their misery. And if you go and change the misery inside the mind, there's nothing but good life left. And again, they said he said, I think my family would be better without me. And it's really his own attitude, his own pain talking, not the kids. So that's the key. Unfortunately, the typical programs out there that are, that you need God to save you. You have a genetic problem to say, and you can't get away from it. It's a curse. It's none of those things. It's memory, unpleasant, hurtful memory. It's poor coping mechanisms. Running and ignoring your problem doesn't make it go away. It just waits for you to come back again, and it builds up. So I have a lot. If you like to see, guys, those of you listen to me, I have lots of amazing testimonials about addiction. We're talking about real addictions: meth, heroin, cocaine, alcohol, all driven by the same.
Robert, thanks for that. That's fantastic. And thanks for your explanation. For people who attend the seminars and really understand the mechanics of this and are successful, when people enter back into the same environment and are offered drugs or alcohol, how do they deal with those situations, say no, and overcome that?
Yeah. Well, it depends on who we're dealing with and what we're doing. If you have somebody go in, because relapse or going back to a drug or whatever it is that you're relapsing, it's not an accident, because inside of their mind, they already have resources that are still alive. They have the feel goods of the drug still in their mind. And when life gets bad, they want their escape. So if you don't change those, it's easy to go back to the drug. If your value comes from outside you, from peers, etc., it's easy to go back. But when you have somebody who clean up these memories and put drugs or whatever it is that you're using, food, candy, sweets, whatever, back in its place, it's hard to use something that doesn't work for you anymore. Because what we do is we put things in proper place, and once you get it in proper place, it's hard to go back. It is hard because it's disgusting.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's no need for any more. So, Robert, one of the things I want to talk about was your YouTube video about the Happy Journal. I love it so much, and it really helped me a lot. I must have watched it over 100 times. And one of the reasons why I love it is because it's just so funny. Can you tell us why the Happy Journal is so important?
Yeah, how I started out, I discovered and created the Happy Journal concept is I'd have people come to my office and they're depressed. And I go, why are you depressed? And they go, well, do you have proof? And they go in their mind and they have all these reasons and proof that they're depressed, which I call that an unhappy journal. They had it right at the fingertips. And I go, do you have any positive memories? And they're looking around inside their heads, go, I'm sure there's got to be something. So they don't have a happy journal. People who are miserable have miserable journals within their own mind. And so what I discovered, if we have people to start working on a happy journal. Now, what we do is we go to bad memories, we change them and turn them into happy memories. And I say, write it down in your happy journal. If you practice feeling good on a daily basis, you practice gratefulness, and you have a goal and you dream, and you practice this on a daily basis, you know what's going to happen? It's going to screw up a lot of misery. And that's really what it is. So people have inside their minds unhappy journals, and some have happy journals. And so what we're doing is doing what the brain naturally does, but do it in a way, because when you worry about something, that's a wish. When you replay a bad memory, that's rehearsing it. So that way you could do it again. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's do happy stuff, positive stuff, traveling stuff, do anything that makes you feel good stuff, and you'll follow what you focus on.
Brilliant. So, Robert, just about ourselves here at Partners in Positivity, have you any advice for us? I know you've impacted a lot of people with your seminars, your YouTube videos and everything. Have you any advice for us going forward, how we can continue to make a positive impact on the world?
Yeah, I think this is my model, and I think it's a very healthy model. And I'll use this first one. It's a scripture from Jesus. It says, you'll love your neighbor as you love yourself. So what he's saying is, if you love yourself, invest in yourself. The most valuable resource or real estate in the world is not a place in Ireland or Israel or any other vacation place. The most valuable real estate in the world is right between your ears. Invest in there. Clean up in there. Love yourself, like yourself from within yourself, because what you do inside you, you're going to do to other people. You know, Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. I'm saying be that change inside your world and do it in you. Love yourself, like yourself, change everything that isn't good, because what you do to you, in you, you do to other people. The world needs happier, healthier people. That's going to make a life change difference. So learn to like you, learn to love you, be kind within you, because what you practice on you, you'll do to other people. So it's time to be nice and make a difference in the world.
Thanks a million, Robert. So please tell us where people can find you online.
Those of you who listen to me, I have a lot of resources out there, a lot of free videos on YouTube. I have free training courses. You can go to skillstochange.com. There's a 7-day, 5-day course that you can take. I do trainings on every possible area of your life that you want help with. I can help you change you. I'll give you the skills so you can take control. People need a better life. And the only way to get it is investments in yourself, in your mind. Practice what you want instead of what you don't want.
That's brilliant, Robert. Thanks so much. You really are a partner in positivity, and thanks for helping me to become a partner in positivity and helping me to get rid of my misery. It's been a really monumental change in my life, and I'm so grateful. Thanks for teaching me to focus on all the things that I love, like travel, like helping people. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you in person and we got to have all those great times at seminars and traveling the world and seeing with my own eyes all the lives that you've impacted. And thanks so much for this chat. I've actually learned so much again tonight. It's really refreshed a lot of my memory, and it's really been an honour to have you here on our Partners in Positivity podcast. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Very proud of you guys. Thank you for having me here.
Robert, thank you so much for accepting our invite and sitting across from us today in a virtual Zoom room. I've gained so much from this conversation. I I cannot even fathom the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that you have between your two ears. And I can see the remarkable change in Aisling, and I know still to this day that she does tapping on herself, on other people, even on me, and it's just amazing the change it can have. You've made such a great contribution to society in what you've created, and I know from your website that you're after impacting the lives of over 100,000 people or more. So congratulations. And I really do hope, but I know that people listening to this are going to gain some great value from it. So I'm honored and blessed. Thank you so much for everything, and take care.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, well done. Pat yourself on the back. You're officially now a partner in positivity with us. If this is your first episode, we're so grateful. If this is your 40th episode, we're equally as grateful for your ears, for your heart, for taking this time out for yourself and committing to your own positive mental health journey. Our intention for this podcast is for you to feel a little bit better afterwards. So we hope you take some time now to check in with yourself. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? And we've definitely done our job if you feel a little bit better, and especially if you want to come back for more next week. If you do want to support us, we actually have a Ko-fi donation page. It's ko-fi.com/partners in positivity. We really value the work that we're doing. We know there's so much positive and negative in the world, and we want to contribute to people feeling their best. So we appreciate all of the donations we've had so far and welcome any more that are on the way. Thank you in advance. Also, if you got something of value from this and you want to share with friends or family to add to this trend of positivity in the world, we would love to be tagged in any posts on social media. You know where to find us. Other than that, guys, have an incredible week ahead, and we look forward to feeding you some more nourishment for that beautiful mind, that beautiful garden of yours next week.